Hello again. We're joined in the studio now by the Home Secretary, Amber Rudd. Thank you for being with us today. If you would, can you just fill us in on the latest about the horrific attack in Westminster? Do you still believe that it was a lone wolf operator?
Yes, that's our understanding. I mean, it's an ongoing investigation and the police are continuing to make inquiries around the people they've arrested, about his known contacts, and I'm sure we'll get more information over the next few days and few weeks. But at the moment, that's the working assumption.
Over half of the Islamist terrorists in the UK are inspired by what they read online. What exactly is the government doing to try and get to grips with that clear issue with radicalisation?
Yes, you're absolutely right. There is an onslaught of radicalisation propaganda online, basically attacking people, trying to persuade them to join the crazed Islamist terrorist groups that are being offered out there. We are taking action. We've taken down 250,000 of these pieces of propaganda since 2010. We're taking down 2,000 a week at the moment, and we have a unit in the Home Office which puts out an alternative narrative to tell people not to do that, to tell them the value of families, of Muslims, to make sure that people don't go that way. But it is a constant battle with the propaganda that comes out against us.
A constant battle. I mean, it almost sounds like a bit of a game of whack-a-mole. I mean, do you think that the actual companies themselves need to do more? Boris Johnson has said that their efforts so far are disgusting. Is he right?
The efforts have been inadequate. I don't want to say they haven't been trying. Some of them have. At the end of last year, there was an agreement, which in fact Facebook participated in as well, changing the terms and conditions whereby they don't allow known terrorist extremist content to be put up. But what I want them to do is to act to make sure that all of it's taken down. Not just known terrorist content, but new terrorist content. There's so much more they could do. And I think they really have to take responsibility for the fact that their sites, their platforms, their publishing enterprises are being used by terrorists. That's why I've called them in this week on Thursday. I'm seeing a group of them to work with them to try and set up an industry board to make sure that we really stop this happening. I'm calling time on terrorists using social media as their platform.
You say you're calling time on it, but they're going to need a bit more than a ticking off, aren't they? I mean, are you preparing to fine companies who...
Oh, they're going to get a lot more than a ticking off. I want them to be part of this answer. Listen, these are people who have families, they have children as well. They will be moved by what they saw this week. They need to take action. And of course, I'm not taking anything off the table. But the fact is, an industry grouping will work better if we can get it done effectively. We have it already for child sexual exploitation and abuse. There is an industry board. They do make sure that they police it together, that most of it is taken down. Of course, there's still some that seems to be reported, but it's quite effective if industry do it themselves. But this is not something that, there's no sort of average conversation here, as Yvette was saying. This is me making sure that there is a step change taking place.
At the same time, though, we've had these conversations before. They've been leaned on before to try and do more. You say that their response has been inadequate. Isn't it time to stop appealing to their emotions and start appealing to their wallets?
No, I'm going to appeal to making sure that they realise that these terrorists are using their websites for their gain. And I believe we can get them to set up an industry board, but I'm not going to stop at that. I'm not saying, oh, well, if you don't agree, I'm going to step away from this. I'm going to make sure that there are alternatives. There will be a plan B, but I want to work together to start with them, because I believe that they are more likely to have the answers. They're the ones that put together the platforms. They're the ones who have a lot of expertise in-house. I'd like them to come up with the solutions, because this is a national problem and a global problem. They should be part of the solution.
We now believe that Khalid Masood sent a message on WhatsApp in the moments leading up to that attack. Is it time to end end-to-end encryption on those kind of apps?
End-to-end encryption has a place. Cyber security is really important, and getting it wrong costs the economy and costs people money. So I support end-to-end encryption. It has its place to play. But we also need to have a system whereby when the police have an investigation, where the security services have put forward a warrant signed off by the Home Secretary, we can get that information when a terrorist is involved. There should be no place.
But that's incompatible with end-to-end encryption.
No, it's not. It's not incompatible. You can have a system whereby they can build it so that we can have access to it when it is absolutely necessary. But I want to draw a very clear distinction here. I support end-to-end encryption as part of cyber security for families, for banking, for businesses. It's important. But we can't have a situation where we have terrorists talking to each other, where this terrorist sent a WhatsApp message.
So you want to effectively build a backdoor then, which could be exploited by hackers as well, couldn't it?
Well, we've got to have, it is absurd to have a situation where you can have terrorists talking to each other on a formal platform, and you can't have a situation where warranted information is needed, perhaps to stop attacks like the one we saw last week, and it can't be accessed. I need to find a solution with them to that.
One of the cornerstones of your other strategies is the Prevent scheme,
yes,
to try and stop radicalisation going on in communities and effectively to stop attacks before they happen. It's been dogged by criticism, not least accused of alienating the Muslim community, the very people it needs to get on side. Is it fit for purpose?
Prevent does extremely good work. I've been myself. I went and saw a mother recently in Leicester whose son had just left out of the blue to fight in Syria, and she appealed to Prevent coordinators to help her and help other members of her family. The Prevent programme stopped 150 people, of which 50 were children, last year from going to Syria. They do really good work. They're usually stimulated and run by communities, so it's not something that's done to communities. But I do recognise that we need to do better to sell it to communities, and I'm going to be looking at what more we can do that to tell these stories so that people realise that Prevent is above all a safeguarding programme to protect young people from becoming radicalised.
At the same time, as well, one of the key parts of the strategy against terrorism is the police. They're, if you like, one of the key weapons in your arsenal against these kind of attacks. And yet they've been hit by cuts of over 20% by this government. And I just want to have a look at something that the police watchdog said recently, saying that it's hard not to reach a very serious conclusion regarding the potentially perilous state of policing. Potentially perilous state.
Yes.
You need to take more responsibility here.
Yeah, I think that he was referring specifically to the fact that they want more detectives in policing work and about the recruitment issue that they have there. In fact, the evidence that we've had from the policing over the past week has been that they have done a phenomenal job. They have stepped up, they have had the resources and the people and the information that they need to do a fantastic investigative job. We are putting additional money into counter-terrorism. We are putting additional money into funding more armed police officers and more armed vehicles so we get a full response. We're making sure that we are putting additional money into the areas that are really necessary. And I believe we're doing the right thing in protecting police funding as well.
It's interesting you say there about more armed police. Should there be more armed police in Parliament?
Well, we will see. I think we have to be careful not to leap in with an answer. Parliamentary security is kept under review all the time. There are armed police in Parliament, but of course, as a result of this incident, there will be a review in the normal course, and we will see.
Because one of the most surprising, is a probably generous way to put it, reports about this attack was that it wasn't actually the police that were stationed in Westminster who shot this terrorist. It was the personal security of the Defence Secretary who just happened to be there. Is that right?
Well, I can't confirm who it was who actually shot the man.
Why not?
Because it's an ongoing matter for the police to disclose if they decide to do so. But the fact is there are armed police in Parliament. If we need to change the security arrangements for Parliament, it will be done in a measured way after we've reflected and reviewed what happened over the past week.
So why is it you can't confirm it? Because it's just the facts, isn't it? And these have been reports in the newspapers all this week.
Well, they may have been in the newspapers, but we'll wait to see what the police confirm.
OK, fair enough. I also do want to talk to you, as we end as well, about the Brexit.
Yes.
Article 50 next week. Now, you, of course, famously described Boris Johnson in those debates, in the EU referendum debates, as someone that you wouldn't want driving you home at the end of the night. Now you're in a situation where Brexiteers are driving the UK out of the European Union. You must be quite frightened. Have you got your seatbelt on tightly? It's such a prominent Remainer.
Well, I'm happy to say Boris and I have made up since, but the driver of this car is Theresa May, to continue the metaphor, and I'm absolutely confident that we're going to get a good deal for the United Kingdom. And I can tell you, much to some people's surprise, that actually the Cabinet is very united in working together. It's true, we had different views before the Cabinet was put together, but once the referendum resulted in the decision to leave the European Union, we're all working together to get the best outcome.
So you're not nervous at all? Come on, you can tell me.
Oh, I'm not nervous, but I don't underestimate the challenges ahead, but I'm quite excited about delivering a really good opportunity for the country.